Buckle up, baby. Your snippet has arrived. Hello, gals, and welcome to Snippet Land. It's time for Sober Living Snippets, where we do what we can to live alcohol-free so we can heal our relationships, feel youthful again, and ditch regret and shame. I'm Becca Jacobson, and if you're new in Snippet Land, welcome aboard, my lovely. Your life, as I like to say, will never be the same. That's my goal, anyway, to make it so your life changes now that you're here. Okay, so let's get to it. Today I have a question for you. I'm going to put a question out there, and then we're going to talk it through and see if we can come up with the answer together. Are you ready? I need you paying attention because I'll be asking for hands to go up so I can have some audience participation. So you in the back, you can stop whispering now. Hello? Okay, good. Thank you. Here's the question. What's the difference between being childish and childlike? What is the difference between being childish and childlike? And, second part of the question, what does it have to do with our alcohol-free journey? This is a good one. I love this question, and I love the answer even more. The short answer is we want to be childlike. We really do want to learn how to be childlike again. And I'm going to talk about why for most of this snippet. But first, let's talk about why we don't want to be childish. I'm sure you knew the answer. In fact, I'm absolutely confident that you knew the answer because I know that you know most of the answers to most of the things I talk about here in Snippet Land because, as I like to point out, I'm here to remind you so you don't go to sleep. Being childish is actually, and the way I view it, is the same as being emotionally immature or not emotionally sober, emotional sobriety. We talk about that. This is the person who pouts. Remember, we did a snippet, I don't know, maybe about a month ago where I talked about pouting. Do you pout? If you do, you're being childish. We don't want that, right? And yet we can find this creeping in. If we're still struggling with alcohol, it keeps us in this childish frame of mind. It's not really our fault. It's just a byproduct of drinking and struggling with alcohol. Why? Because we're internally frustrated. We're emotionally overwrought. We really, really don't like ourselves very much. Our stomach is always tied in a knot because we know we want more out of life. And yet here we are drinking again against our will and again against our will. This is that horrifying life that I lived for over 30 years and the one that you've also experienced and may still be experiencing. And we see ourselves reacting childishly, and the worst part is we recognize it and we basically can't stop it. Here I am having a hissy fit, and I can't help it because I'm so freaking frustrated. Because why? Nothing to do with what's going on in the moment. It's all in the background, this frustration with the fact that I can't get alcohol out of my life. The person in front of me doesn't even know why I'm frustrated. They think, why is she so upset? All I did was something minor. Something minor happens and we fly off the handle and the person's like, wow, holy crap, what is your problem? Meanwhile, for us, it's weeks, months, years, and even decades of disappointing ourselves. Drinking against our will, behaving in ways we dislike, and the fact that we're behaving childish in that moment just adds to the pile. The next thing you know, we need another drink because we acted like a baby 5 seconds ago, and so it goes, and on it goes, and there's the cycle we're trapped in. Yeah, we're childish because we have this agonizing knot in our hearts. If you're still struggling with alcohol, this is probably sounding familiar. You're all grown up. You know the difference. When I ask you what's the difference between childish and childlike, you know the answer, and yet you turn around and act childish in the next few minutes. At some point today, Something's going to happen and you're going to disappoint yourself again and realize there, I just acted emotionally immature again. I've happened to me again because I'm upset all the time because I'm disappointed in myself. This is a painful way to live, gals. And it's how I threw away 3 decades of my life. But let's get to the childlike portion of the show. And why am I even bothering to bring it up? Why is it important to have a childlike approach to life? Well, first of all, it's not easy. It's not easy for most of us because when we live with this alcohol struggle, we become not only childish, but jaded, cynical, right? At least I did. Now, not everyone's as cynical as I was. I admit it, and I've recognized this in myself. And I believe it came from my early days, my early years as a prostitute. I came out of that decade so cynical about marriage, about love, about men, about honesty, about uprightness, about human beings having any kind of real love for each other. I was very cynical, very jaded. And in many ways, it's hard to not get that way when you're living that life. Most of my clients, in fact, almost all of them, were married men with reputations in their community and educated professionals. And so I was cynical. I was cynical about marriage. You can see how that would happen, right? But, after that, I went to college. I just talked recently about my story. And I did become a little bit less cynical, but not much, because I was still struggling with alcohol. I wasn't growing emotionally. I wasn't doing the inner work. I wasn't learning how to live in emotional sobriety. And so the cynicism lasted, not so much towards marriage and men and stuff, but it sort of shifted to myself. I would say to myself, I'm going to do this. I'm going to change that. And there was this voice, yeah, right, sure. The cynical voice that didn't trust me as far as I could throw myself because I'd let myself down so much. So there I was, very childish, very immature, and very cynical. If you're cynical and if you're jaded, it's very hard to have a childlike approach to life. Now, let me finally get to that. What do I mean by a childlike approach to life? I'm talking about a sense of wonder, about the fact that we can still appreciate the smallest of things and see beauty everywhere. I didn't even know what that was like. Whatever. That was me. I'm just like, whatever was my middle name. Now I look up at the stars and my heart starts to sing. Now I can look at a tree and wonder, how the hell did that tree become a tree from a little tiny acorn? When it's spring and people are planting their gardens, how does a seed turn into a vegetable? Whatever it is that makes us feel that sense of wonder, that's childlike wonder. That's childlike. That's going back to remembering that miracles are all around us. How the hell did I get this body? How did that happen? How does that happen? There's so much around us to look at in wonder and joy, and alcohol and the struggle with alcohol kills that. And that just breaks my freaking heart. It's really hard to look at the world with childlike wonder when you're just wore out from fighting the alcohol and losing. It's just this worn out. We become old before our time, gray, jaded, all ruffled around the edges and just stoop-shouldered and knot in the gut, irritable. Sorry for painting such a vivid picture, but that was me at 52. I was this old woman all shriveled up and jaded. And I don't mean, I'm not talking about wrinkles. I'm talking emotionally shriveled. And now, every year I get freaking younger. It's amazing. I'm nearing the end of my 7th year of sobriety, so I'll be entering my 8th. And I keep thinking, geez, this is amazing. I feel so great. This is what it's like, only to discover, no, it gets even better. The longer I'm in sobriety, the better I feel. The more I grow, the happier I get. The more childlike I become, the more miraculous things I see to look at. I want this for you. I'm not exaggerating it, but the only way to get it is to plunge yourself into a program of recovery. We can't get this feeling by just giving up alcohol. It just doesn't work that way. Sure, putting down the booze is going to help, but I've said it a million times, so I won't harp on it again today. But it's not about giving up the alcohol. It's about deciding, how can I get that sense of wonder back? Who am I? What happened to me? What did all those years of alcohol do to me? Where's the real me? How do I get her? How do I rebirth the real me that's been hidden all of these years by this horrifying struggle? That's what we do, and it takes time. We can't expect something like that to happen on its own, just automatically when we put down the booze. And we also can't expect something like that to happen by just sitting back and waiting. But let me tell you, it's not hard work. It's consistent effort, yes. It's willingness to take some uncomfortable action, especially in the beginning before we've got some traction. But once you get that traction and you get going, I see this in my clients. The first few weeks they're with me, first month or so, it's a bit of effort to get that traction. But the energy in the room, most of the women I work with are in the group program. Some work with me one-on-one. There's options, right? But even if you're working with me one-on-one, you've got my energy there. And the energy starts to accumulate, and they start getting that energy into their own field. And then they get the traction, and then it starts to go. And then I see them taking off. It's like a bird being pushed out of the nest. All of a sudden, they're okay. They can start flying on their own, or that we take off the metaphorical training wheels, however you want to put it. And then they've started their journey. And I know that they're going to keep going, and they're going to keep growing. And it's such a beautiful process. Why on earth would you not want that? I don't know. It's worth any amount of investment of time, of money, of energy to get a life like that, wouldn't you say? I certainly do. This is a priceless gift waiting for you on the other side of that bottle, my dear. Not just the other side of the bottle, but when you step up and step in to this journey, oh my, you have so much joy awaiting you. So if you're feeling that fear of giving up your bottle, I hope this has inspired you to go, holy crap, I've never felt that from any amount of alcohol or drugs. I did a lot of drugs in my day. Never, ever, not one drug that I ever took made me feel this good. And I did every drug I ever met. And, in those years as a prostitute, you can imagine. And I never said no to any drug. Somebody would offer me something. I'd go, sure, I'll do that. Why not? What do I got to lose? I got nothing to lose. That's what I was like. Not one drink, not one pill, not one anything made me feel as good as I do today. And I want that for you, my dear. Thank you for coming and getting your snippet today. If you are excited by what I've just described, if this excites you and you're ready, why not make today the day that you shoot me an email at Becca@beccajacobson.com, and all you have to say in there is, I'm ready. And from there, we'll book a call, we'll get together, we'll chat for 45 to 60 minutes, and we'll figure out what path is right for you. And that might not be a path with me. It might be my group program, it might be my one-on-one, it might be something else, but I'm happy to help you figure out how to get your childlike life started. I'll be waiting for you to send me the words, I'm ready, at beccajacobson.com. The link to that's also in the show notes. There's also a link in the show notes to my private calendar if you'd like to just go ahead and book yourself that call. Let's get this happening, gals. We got no more time to waste. That's one thing we don't have is time to throw away on suffering and nonsense and childish emotional struggling. See you tomorrow. Thanks for stopping in. Be sure to come back tomorrow so we can keep your head on straight. Sending you buckets of love.